cautionary. Even when you're taking a fursuit like this, and I go on a plane and I'm going to, I don't know, MFF or something, what I do is I take a piece of paper, it takes 2 seconds, I write down my name, my address, and my phone number, and I put it inside the bag. So like what happened to Jaeger on Northwest, when he came in here Thursday, they told him, oh, by the way, I can't find your suit anywhere, like nowhere. And you can explain what the bag looks like, but this is one of 100 million bags in Canada. What's going to be the difference? If you're talking to them, find it, and someone opens the bag and you have your name, your phone number, and where you're at, you're going to get the phone call and they're going to find your bag, you know where to take it. So it's just making sure to do those little things to prevent your suit ever getting lost, but also when it comes to custom and stuff, not have any holds or unnecessary things you have to deal with later on. So,
I just wanted to add to what you were saying, Scribble, about the shipping. There's something that, I don't know if you may not have touched on this, but if you do ship something and you're flying that destination, like for example, let's say you were going to Rainfurrest and you're coming back from Rainfurrest, it's very important you fill out a form called a Declaration of Unaccompanied Goods, I believe it's called. That particular one is very important because if you don't fill it in, you're going to be paying duties and taxes on what you're bringing into the country because they'll think it's new. So you have to be able to declare that I was on this airline on this time and I was unable to bring it on this airline, so therefore I am shipping this instead. Then they will basically bypass a lot of that paperwork that you were speaking of.
You're right. That's one of the big things. I mean, it's the same thing if I get a suit sent back to me because the person, for example, wants an alteration or they want an addition to their suit. It's not new, it's the old suit. But it's, I mean, if you don't fill out that paperwork, not only does the person who I shipped it to have to pay customs and duty, but I may have to pay customs and duty when they send it back to me. And then they may have to pay customs and duty again when I send it back to them. So, I mean, it's a very rudimentary process, it's very clumsy. But trying to get as much paperwork filled out as you can ahead of time makes a big difference. And the other thing, pretty much regardless of what company you're shipping with, if you ask them, they're very helpful. Yeah. So, I mean, if you say, look, I want to do this, how do I go about this in a way that will make it as easy as possible, they'll usually have suggestions. Customs and duty forms, especially internationally, are always changing. So it's one of those things that it's a good idea to stay current. Even if you shipped it like, 6 months ago or 7 months ago, it's not a bad idea to ask if there's anything new because it makes a difference.
If you create your shipment online, FedEx actually gives you all the forms right there. You just literally, you create the shipment, you press the button, and there's like 5 forms that it'll give you a listing and links to, and literally you just print it out and you're done.
I prefer FedEx on everybody.
Me too. I can't stand UPS.
I think that's it as far as the pre-planned stuff. Does anybody have any questions?
I actually have one thing I want to say, one more thing before we get into questions. If you're ever shipping and you're going to a hotel, like for a convention and stuff, and you're shipping your suit to the hotel, make sure you call the hotel front desk and notify them and let them know that the package is going to be there. I don't know how many times I've heard people bring it there, but they don't say, oh, by the way, they never call the hotel and tell them that their personal shit's going to be shipped to them. It's good to call them and let them know because, you don't want some random package to stay in their hotel. Actually, I would laugh sometimes if someone thought that it was some inconspicuous box and thought it was like anthrax or something and like destroyed the suit. No, I'm just joking. It's just a smart thing to do. It's like anything. If you're sending a package to someone, even my mom's sending it to me, it's kind of good to let the person know, whoever it's getting shipped to, that it's on their way, so they're not like surprised by it. It's like I said, a simple little thing that could cause a lot less stress in the long run.
And never name your suit anthrax and put that on the deck.
Yeah. And the similar thing too is always watch your tracking numbers. It's very easy. Most online sites and stuff have a thing, give you a tracking number where you can watch. Always keep up with it and watch and see where the suit is and where it's going, because there's even times where I've actually had 2 cases where a company or a customs, since I moved to Canada in 2007, where something was shipped over and they put a hold on it, but they didn't call and notify me and tell me. So I was waiting for 2 extra saying, where's my stuff? I checked my tracking number and they says, oh, it's at customs on hold. I'm like, oh, you can't always, it's just one of those things. Don't always just rely on other people. Just make sure if it's something important to you, you keep your track on it. Especially if you're the one who's a suit or a fursuit maker, sending it to someone, because as you're for your clients, you want to also make sure that their shit's getting where it needs to go.
One other thing connected to that, if you're sending something, for example, to a convention that you're planning on attending, and it gets a delay for any reason, so that it's not going to get to the hotel in time to be at the event, immediately phone the shipping company and redirect the package. The process that a lot of the shipping companies go through, especially when it's being loaded and unloaded onto planes, is kind of clumsy. There's only 1 or 2 points during the shipping process where something can be pulled off of a plane and redirected to another place. And the more time that you give them to do that redirection, the better. Because otherwise, unfortunately, they can end up going, oh, well, we delivered to the hotel. You left 3 days ago, but it's at the hotel. And you really don't want that. I've had that happen to customers before, and I think it only happened twice, which is pretty good considering I've been doing this for a few years. But in both situations, the person was lucky enough that they had a friend in the area who was able to go grab it and redirect it. But FedEx, once it's actually delivered, even if they did it in the place that you didn't want it to in the end, they won't take responsibility. I mean, if you don't catch them in time, they'll just deliver it to where you told them to in the first place, and it's unfortunate you're not there. Too bad.
Yeah, he's right about that. No, it's just making me laugh because the reason why I say it's important to put your information on the bag or also inside it, because one time I was visiting one of my friends in Portland, and then they lost my suit. They couldn't find it for 4 days. I found out my suit was actually in Cancun, Mexico. So, long and all, I've never been to Mexico, and my suit has, so it was kind of fun.
On vacation without you.
Yeah, I know. And, it's just an important thing to do, because also, if you have to go through customs, God, I was scared out of my mind, because you have to go through Mexican customs now to get your suit back. I'm like, holy crap. And I'm afraid they're just going to, rip my suit apart or, do a little dance or something around the head or something. This is very important to take these things into note. But yeah, if you have any questions, it's pretty much the layout of both things. I don't know if anybody has anything specific to ask at all.
What about long-term storage?
I don't know, you both can fight for it, I don't know.
What about long-term storing in a box? Like if I need to store something in a box for, say, a year, the suit.
Don't store a suit in a box. Hang it.
Yeah, it's like he said, if you mat it down, if it mats down for a while, it gets a little awkward, the suit could warp, or even the fur just can get very knotted and mangled up. It's just, at times I was guilty for leaving it for a little bit periods of time, but all in all, if you just want to keep the suit maintained and the fur not knotting up, it's better just to find a little niche in the closet and just hang it.
It's kind of funny because people who have expensive suits, and I don't mean fursuits, but just a regular suit, even in that case, they'll recommend don't fold up your suit and shove it in a drawer for a couple of years, because when you pull it out, it'll have kinks in every spot that it's been folded. Try and leave it hanging. And like I said, they have actual garment bags to protect it from dust and odors, and you can even get the ones that zip it up, so it's almost airtight. If you're going to store your suit for a long period of time, leave it as natural, unkinked, and free as possible, and keep it from any dust or odors. And it can last forever.
Oh, Walter Williams.
One thing to throw in there, if you're taking your suit with you on the plane, is check baggage. If you have a layover, since today, in this day and age, Travelocity and a lot of places like Orbit, so you can actually look at your travel itinerary before you actually purchase it. If your layover is less than an hour, there's a good chance your bag's not going to make the connecting flight. And that also gives you about a 30 to 50% chance with the averages of your bag not getting to its destination until the next day. They have to ship it to the hotel. So if you're picking your flight and you checked your fursuit, like in an action packer on the plane, make sure the flight you're taking, the layover is more than an hour. So they have time to transfer from one plane to another. And I have had a situation, not with my fursuit, but with the bag not reaching its destination, and they had to ship it, they had to send it to the hotel 24 hours later, so you wouldn't get it on time.
Yeah, it makes a very good point. That's even general with, you want to get to the con too, it's a good thing. It's cool and all, but I had connections, I made the mistake if that's 45 minutes. They have to layover because a waitress dropped coffee or something like that, and they had to delay the plane for an hour. I've actually had that happen once, which I don't understand what the reasoning is, but then in the long run, it just kind of fell short, and my bag nor myself made it to where I needed to go for another 6 hours.
There's also